Goku always eats an absurd amount of food, and we see this time and time again throughout the series. But the real question is, how many calories is Goku actually consuming? This is a difficult question to answer, because really, there isn't an episode where we see Goku eat more than one time in a day. The only episode I can think of is Dragonball Super episode 71, in which we see Goku eat at least twice. So I'll be using that episode for this video. This is in no way a definitive conclusive number that Goku eats. I can only give a rough estimate about the amount of calories that he intakes. And we never see Goku eat all the food that's presented to him. And I really doubt that Goku's the kind of guy that would just eat everything and not let his friends eat anything. But the most limiting factor in estimating this number is the food itself, because the artwork of the food that's shown is not very good. So it made it very difficult to estimate what exactly Goku's eating. The first meal we see Goku eat isn't too hard in comparison to what comes later on. Based on the time of day, I assume this is Goku's lunch. I honestly spent a long time looking at dozens of Chinese and Japanese beef dishes before I realized this part of the drawing and came to the conclusion that this has to be some sort of chicken leg. So using that as a basis and seeing that in this shot Goten has a smaller serving, so we can assume that Goku clears this plate, he would consume about 87 grams of fat, 43 grams of carbs, and 131 grams of protein, coming to 1,479 calories. Underneath these chicken legs, we also see what looks to be 20 egg rolls. And using this recipe that I found as a basis, Goku would consume 148 grams of fat, 320 grams of carbs, and 200 grams of protein. Now, we see that the bulk of the calories of this meal comes from this massive bowl of white rice, and this is where the numbers get a little fuzzy, because it's kind of hard to estimate just based on this drawing and the size of the bowl in grams the amount of white rice Goku's eating. But I'm going to go ahead and make the jump and say it's about 1,500 grams of white rice, which would come out to 4.2 grams of fat, 422.55 grams of carbs, and 40.35 grams of protein for a total of 1,889.4 calories. We also see Goku eat what I first thought was bok choy, but after looking around some more, I found this type of cabbage, which is called a Napa cabbage. Assuming this is just one head of it, it will come out to 1.09 grams of fat, 50.67 grams of carbs, and 13.08 grams of protein. Now the hardest part of determining this meal was this right here, because honestly it just looks like black putty or like black sludge, which I couldn't really tell. Well, after looking at a bunch of different pictures of sauces, I had to make the guess and say this is hoisin sauce, which one serving comes to 2.3 grams of fat, 25.8 grams of carbs, and 1.5 grams of protein for a total of around 130 calories. Meaning that Goku's lunch alone brings him to 242.59 grams of fat, 862 grams of carbs, and 386.43 grams of protein, for a grand total of 7,177 calories in what appears to be his lunch. The second meal we see Goku eat is much harder to break down. This is mostly because there's like a big gathering of food. The amount that we see Goku eat is also kind of questionable. He could eat more than what we see, but I doubt that he eats everything on the table. Because again, Goku's not the kind of guy that would leave his friends for nothing. He does put his life on the line for them, time and time again. The bulk of the protein in this meal comes from this raw tuna, which is the same tuna that Goku was carrying earlier in the episode. It looks to be an Atlantic bluefin tuna, and estimating that Goku eats around 30 ounces of this tuna, it comes out to 8.08 grams of fat, 0 grams of carbs, and 198.85 grams of protein for a total of 868.12 calories. There's also this bowl of fruit that's nearby Goku in the scene, and assuming that Goku eats all these bananas, this apple, these grapes, and these oranges, it'll come out to 1,293 calories. Now the absolute hardest part of this video was trying to figure out this shish kebab thing Goku had. Now, given the shot of Gohan and Goten, I can assume that this is corn, which if it is, will come out to 1,412 calories for all 8 of them. Now, I honestly can't even tell what this is supposed to be. At first I thought it was some sort of bread, but then I thought it couldn't be bread because it looks a little glazed, or at least grilled. And considering this shot of Piccolo grilling, he's not grilling the tuna's raw. And everything else on the table doesn't seem to be grilled or sauteed in any way. So I have to assume that this is some sort of beef. Now this will make it a lot harder because then I have to figure out what kind of beef this is and what kind of beef comes in such like a weird looking loaf. And the only thing I could think of that could fit is London broil, because I know Gohan's like a scholar, but I don't think being a scholar pays so much that you can afford this to be filet mignons. Now assuming that this is London broil and this is 50 ounces of it, it'll come out to 83.3 grams of fat, 0 grams of carbs, and 500 grams of protein for a total of 2,749.7 calories. Goku also has this drink here, and I don't think Goku's a piss drinker, so it's probably apple juice, which will be 28 grams of carbs and 115.5 calories. Now all this combined brings Goku's second meal to a total of 6,440 calories, which might be a little higher, it might be a little lower. Again, we don't see exactly how much Goku eats. He eats these 2 shish kebabs, maybe some more on the table, maybe Piccolo prepares some more of this great looking beef. Based on what we see, Goku's total macros for the day come out to 367.27 grams of fat, 1,432.02 grams of carbs, 1,142.98 grams of protein, for a total of 13,605.43 calories. Now we only see Goku eat 2 meals, so we missed out on what his breakfast was. But seeing how his lunch was around 7,000 calories and his dinner was around 6,000, 7,000 calories, we can assume that his breakfast was around 6,000 to 8,000, which if it was, would bring his grand total for the day to around 20,000 calories. Now eating 20,000 calories is not impossible. There are videos of people on YouTube who would attempted such a challenge, but it looked kind of painful, and honestly Goku seems in perfect tip-top condition the entire episode, apart from when he like dies, but that's beside the point. Now again, a lot of these entries had to be heavily estimated, the sauces and this cut of what I assume is beef, and this is also only based on what we see Goku eat and what's near him. Now how does Goku eat so much and not look fatter than Boo? Well, ignoring potential Saiyan genetics and alien metabolism, Goku just burns a lot of calories just by being around. I mean, all he does is train and fight, and he moves around constantly. I don't think we ever see Goku like take a seat. Goku probably can burn more than half of this off, and given the fact that he's built like a freaking truck stick, I mean, his resting metabolic rate is probably through the roof. I mean, he's probably more muscle than he is fat. And couple this with the fact that he can transform, I mean, Saiyan transformations, and especially the Kaioken, must burn a tremendous amount of calories just from doing the transformation, not to mention even moving around in that state. And flying and ki blasts, that's gotta burn a lot of calories. It's literal energy coming from your body. All this combined could actually put Goku in a deficit, considering that he fights Hit later on in the episode, and he does use Super Saiyan Blue. That about wraps up this video. It was pretty fun to do. If you guys have any other estimates on maybe this number was a little too low, maybe it was a little too high, maybe let me know what the hell this is supposed to be. I really appreciate it.